Okay,
Okay.
so here we are today with another episode of the We United podcast, Voices of Innovation. And what we'd like to do sometimes is showcase our members and our members' stories because they're the most critical part of our community is our membership base. So we wanted to get real. We want to address, a very important topic for women in particular, which is breast cancer. So we have some brave women in our industry who have really come forth to share their stories because they really want to help other people. And so, being an organization that's dedicated to leadership and women's topics in particular in leadership, we really want to bring this to light. So, with that, I do want to welcome Lauren Sloan, one of our valued and cherished members, to our podcast today. Thank you for being here, Lauren.
Hi, Jackie. Thank you for having me. My name's Lauren Sloan. I work for Newark, an Avnet company. I'm responsible for our purchasing operations. I've got a team in Ohio and responsibility for another team in India that I manage. We look after our supplier PO book, pulling in, pushing out, chasing things down with our suppliers, all that good stuff. I've been with the business about 12 years in a few different capacities.
So what I wanted to ask you, Lauren, is how long have you been in the industry? And have you had other roles in the industry? How long have you been here?
My time in the industry has been solely with Newark. So it's been 12 years in the industry. Before that, I held multiple different sales roles, sales management in different industries. I've also taken a career break when my kids were young. So I was with Newark and sales to start with. And when my second child was born, I decided to step away for a few years. And
Yeah.
then I came back to Newark.
That's awesome. So we have that in common because I did step out, but I stepped out for like 12 years. I stepped out for a long period of time to raise my children. And can I ask what ages were your children when you came back? You said you took some time off when you came back. What ages were your children?
So they would have been about 8 and 11 when I
Okay.
came back. Yeah.
Okay. So you were a busy working mom
Oh
at
yeah.
that time.
Oh yeah.
So, okay, so let's start from here and say, here we are in Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we want to bring light to this topic. And, the reason I wanted to preface a little bit, because here you are, a working, normal person living your life, right? You've got two kids. You're doing life, and then all of a sudden you get a diagnosis. So why don't we just start there?
Yeah. You're absolutely correct. Like a lot of working moms, we're trying to juggle all the things, right? We've got our career and the kids and the practices and driving everywhere all the time. So things are a little bit crazy. Um, when I was diagnosed, it was 2019, early 2019. I was 38 years old, so I was considered pretty young for a breast cancer
Yeah.
diagnosis. I knew for some time that I had a lump in my breast, and I was not
Mm.
overly concerned about it. And this is something I really like to share with people because it underscores the importance of early detection and knowing your body, right? Stats show that the numbers of women under 40 being diagnosed is increasing in recent years. Yet, our screening guidelines don't recommend annual mammograms until you're 40.
Mhm.
So that's why it's so important for us to know our own bodies, pay attention to any changes, and get them checked out. So, as I was in my 20s and 30s, I had several instances of finding something that I did go have checked out, right? I
Mm.
did this multiple times. I had several biopsies. I even had a lumpectomy for something that was non-cancerous.
Mm.
Going through that, you kind of start to feel like, okay, I just have lumpy breasts, right? That's how I was made to feel too by the doctors. Like, you're
Mhm.
way too young for cancer. Like, it's not something to worry about. We'll check it anyway, that kind of thing. So, as I knew this lump was there, I was not overly concerned about it. So, scheduled a diagnostic mammogram with my doctor and went in one day and I just thought, okay, this is going to be the same thing I've been through so many times before. And it did not turn out that way.
Mm.
So I was basically diagnosed right then and there that day. They pulled me in for multiple different views on the mammogram and then an ultrasound. And then this is something that never happened before. They said the radiologist wants to speak with you. And they brought me back into the room and showed me on the screens. It was pretty far advanced at that point, still localized in my breast, but pretty far advanced. So that is how I was diagnosed. Things progressed pretty quickly after that into treatment.
So what stage were you?
2B.
Okay. Okay.
2B.
Okay. So, and for those listening, how is that in relation? You hear stage 4, stage 3, stage whatever. So is it that you have a more likelihood of recovering well from a stage 2B? Like I really would have no context.
The earlier, the better, right? So
Okay.
there's even a stage 0. They call that in situ. So that means that the tumor has not progressed outside of your milk ducts yet. So if you can catch it early like that, that's great. Your treatment options are better. Chances of it coming back are better. And as you progress, the staging is a little different. And it depends on the size of your tumor, whether or not it's in your lymph nodes, and the grade, which is the aggressiveness. So in my particular case, the tumor was pretty large and it was a higher grade. So it was spreading pretty quickly. Because of that, they put me into chemotherapy almost immediately. Within 2 weeks, I was in chemotherapy. And the goal of that was to shrink the tumor down before surgery.
Wow. Okay. So here you are. For those listening, now we've had a diagnosis, and what are you feeling at this time? So let's just pause there because this is one of those life's rude interruptions, we call them. So what is it you're feeling at this time? What is it that's going through your head, your emotions, and your family? How is this all looking at that time?
I think at first, in the very beginning, it's very much shock and panic. It was not at all expected. This is not something that runs in my family whatsoever. I had very limited knowledge of other people who have gone through it. So it was all very much panic and trying to learn as much as possible about what the heck I was about to embark on. There was a lot of worry about my kids and how this was going to affect them.
Yep.
Things like that. There's a lot to sort through right up front.
Yes. Okay. So now how does that look? You're a working mom, you're going through treatment. Did you take time off to go through all of this treatment? Were you working through it? Like, how did that look for you?
It's different for everybody. And treatment's different for everybody. So it can come in different order, right? So a lot of women will have surgery first and then go on to other things. In my case, like I said, it was chemo first. And I did work through that chemo. I was very upfront with my employer from the beginning. This is what I'm dealing with. Here's what I think I'm going to have to be doing. My leadership team was incredibly supportive and flexible with me, and I'm so grateful for that. But at first, while I was on chemo, we decided that I was going to try to work because I knew I did have some options for like short-term disability and things like that, but I wanted to save that for when I was recovering from surgery.
Yes.
So through chemo, I worked as much as I could. And this was right before COVID. So that was not the norm for people to be working from home or anything like that, but we made it work. Yeah, we made it work. So I take a day off and go and have my treatment. We're outside of Cleveland, so I had all of my treatments at the Cleveland Clinic. I was very lucky in that respect too, because it's a fantastic hospital. But I would go and get my treatment, and then I would work, and the side effects don't really hit you for a couple of days after that. So then I would have the flexibility to work from home when I needed to, but I would show up in the office as much as possible. And looking back, the care team actually said to me, women who work do better. And looking back on that, I can see why, because it still gives you that connection to your world and who you were before this all happened to you, you know? So I'm glad I did it that way. Yes.
Yeah. And I had a friend who went through it. Actually, Gina Bolanos, Gina Feely, people know her as well. So she came on one of our webinars and was talking about her journey. And she was saying it helped for her working through her process was helpful that to not focus on it all the time, right? That it was a distraction and it just made her feel normal at some point when she was, going through some things, just to go on with life, because life would be going on beyond that, and to not make it her biggest thing in life. But everybody deals with it differently, right? Some people might need that time mentally and emotionally. I really hope at some point we'll figure it out in our country that there would be an option just to be home the entire time if you so need to, that you wouldn't have to make a choice of I will save my disability for after surgery. Some people the chemo might not work so well for a lot of people. Some people might get a lot more sick, and some people might be emotionally and mentally in a different place,
Sure.
right? And so
Absolutely.
I would hope through these conversations that corporations would start looking at this and saying, well, do we need to have our people make a choice, right? Your leadership team was amazing. They probably would have granted you whatever you needed. Probably not the case in all organizations. So it's really something to consider. Is this like, what does this look like, when you become ill? Now, let me ask you some questions. So since we're talking about it, what did the surgery look like, and how was that recovery?
The surgery was a mastectomy.
Okay.
Initially, I had wanted to have a double mastectomy because I didn't want to face this ever again, right? It's discouraged because they say that it doesn't really make sense to do both sides, but that's what I wanted to do. Because of a complication I had near the end of chemo, I had a pulmonary embolism, a blood clot in my lung. That really changed my whole surgery outlook from there on out, because it was a risk associated with surgery. So instead of the double, at the time, I ended up with just a single mastectomy. No reconstruction at the time, because the goal of the surgeons was get the cancer out, but let's make the surgery as short as possible to minimize the risk. So that's what we did. Following that, I had radiation as well. That's another thing. You need the time away because it is every single day going in for radiation. I also ended up having my ovaries removed as part of my treatment plan because my cancer was hormone driven. So then that was another surgery right on the back of that.
Okay.
And then I had 2 remaining surgeries following that for reconstruction. And because of the complication I mentioned, the surgery team at the Cleveland Clinic was very uncomfortable with the long surgery that I was planning to have. They wanted to do it in a series of 5 or 6 short surgeries, and I wasn't comfortable with that. I was just thinking to myself, I can't do this. I can't keep stepping away from my career and having surgery and healing and coming back for a short time and then going for another series. I wanted to get it done. So I ended up finding another hospital in New Orleans, actually. It's a specialty hospital, and that is all they do there. They do breast reconstruction surgeries. So I ended up traveling there twice for my reconstruction surgeries. It was out of network, huge out-of-pocket costs for travel and all of that. But for me, in my circumstances, that was the better option, just to be able to get it done and move forward.
Wow. That is something I wouldn't have considered or even thought about. But oh man, with even insurance, maybe it doesn't cover all the options that one would want. And I would say I would agree with you probably if I was in your situation to go through that 5 times. I think whether it's breast cancer or even other things that we go through in life, sometimes you just feel like not a human anymore, right? Sometimes you just feel like I'm also a human being, and this is dehumanizing. But I think it's something also to pay attention to. So Lauren, thank goodness you advocated for yourself. You advocated, and so you were in that place to do so. But was it you doing it? Did you have friends and family around you? How did that decision come to play? Because that's a financial, right? Investment in yourself, right? Which was great. That's the best investment you could make. But it's a long-term, probably, strategy, and to pay off that debt over time, probably too, because that's a cost, right? But when you're making kind of health decisions, the health is number one, right? But there's a lot of factors. There's so many factors. So what was it that brought you to that decision where you're like, nope, we're not going to go with what the doctors decided. We are going to go over here.
It was several different things. And I think throughout my treatment, I was getting better and better at speaking up for myself. I was learning more. I was finding new resources all the time, like people within the hospitals that I could speak to. I discovered some private Facebook groups so I could connect with other women that were going through the same thing. And that was amazingly helpful. That's how I found this hospital in New Orleans to begin with. But there were a lot of different conversations with multiple surgeons and other doctors and within my family. I have an amazingly supportive family. They're fantastic. They were great throughout the whole thing. I ended up borrowing from my retirement.
Okay.
That's what I had to do. That was the best option for me at that time.
Yeah.
And in doing that, I was able to put it behind me instead of dragging it out for years and years.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. I think that that's incredible. And it's the best investment you could have made in yourself and your health. And now you're flourishing and thriving and you're working beyond it. But okay, so I just want to say before we move on real quick, I have had a few friends that I've gone through this with them together. It is no joke. So for anyone listening, especially men, supporting their partners or people in their lives or their teams or whatever it might be, and any other women listening too, it is no joke. I mean, I have been through this with two friends and have been there for them to come home and been part of the team. It's a team to take care of somebody because it is, I could not believe in both cases how major it was. I don't think people always understand how major this surgery is and how much support we need to offer our women who go through this. So I don't know about your story, but I'll turn it over to you just to comment on how was that surgery for you and how was the recovery?
It's kind of shocking. I mean, really, it's an amputation. That's
Yeah.
what it is. And I think it kind of tends to be minimized a little bit in our culture. Like you'll hear things. I heard it myself. Oh, at least you get a free boob job. Like that's not what it is. It's an amputation, and reconstruction is about putting you back together as best as possible. But it's not a free boob job. It's really hard. It has a lot of effects on your body image. You have to like figure out who you are without that part of you that you had forever. You don't have the feeling anymore. It's really hard to explain. Once I went through, I did have the other breast removed eventually during my reconstruction, and I had a type of reconstruction surgery using my own tissue. I don't know if you've heard of that before. But it's basically like a transplant, but it's a really, really long surgery. I was under the knife for about 12 hours because they're reconnecting all those little teeny blood vessels and such, but leaves you with quite a few scars. And you have to get used to looking at those scars, and it's tough. So I did a thing a couple years ago. There's an organization called Personal Inc., P Inc., and every year in multiple cities across the country, they have a tattoo day.
Oh.
Never in my wildest dreams did I think I would ever get a tattoo. I didn't have one before. I probably will never get another one. But there were a group of ladies in Cleveland that were breast cancer survivors. We all did it together at this tattoo shop where the artists donate their time. They do this every single year. And it was just an amazing bonding experience, number one. And it was like flipping the script and taking our power back a little bit. Like their tagline is "Cancer doesn't have to leave the last mark." I love that so much because I picked what it looked like.
Oh, it makes me, because I've been through this with people and I know how devastating it is. And so I love that you said that. And I just want all of our members to know that there are communities of people. There are people to help you, and there's such good people out there. Like my one friend we sat together and she said, well, what am I going to do? How am I going to make myself feel normal again? And we went through all these options together. And now she's doing better on the other side. But I love that you did that. I love that you had community. But looking back, what would you say to people who are just going through this, that are at the beginning of their journey, they're getting a diagnosis? What would you say to them?
Breathe one step at a time. Find your community, find your people. You will need people in all different capacities. You'll need help just running your life and your household, help with your kids if you have them. You also need to be able to talk to people openly and honestly. You're going to be feeling a ton of different emotions and fear. Some of those emotions can be pretty dark. And one thing I learned is that people who love you can't go there with you, right? Like, so a lot of my really close family and friends, like, and I get it. I don't want to hear them talking about they might die.
Yeah.
So it's hard for somebody to go there. So find somebody you can go there with that doesn't judge, that just lets you talk about what you're feeling and says, you know what, that must be tough. I'm here if you need to talk about it, instead of, oh, be positive. Like, don't say that. You need to find somebody that you can be real with, at least one person. The last thing I think I'll say is be prepared for the after. I think that was the hardest part for me. Because when you're in active treatment, it's like you're on a train and it's rolling, and you've got appointments and doctors and people you're talking to all the time. Things are constantly changing, and none of it's pleasant. But when it's done, it's not done. That's when you finally you get to sit with yourself in the quiet and make sense of everything that just happened. What do I look like now? Who am I now? Like, what has happened to my relationships? How do I navigate my new self? Because you're not going to be the same self that you were before. It'll change you. Not all for the bad, right? Like, there are some good things that I think I've taken from it, but just be prepared for when that active treatment ends. You will still need your support system.
Yes, and I think it's really good advice. So, like, what is it that you could say to people who are helping those? Like, one of the things, like you were saying, is, people need to be able to be real. But, I remember one of my best friends, when she went through it, she couldn't wash her hair, because after surgery for a long time, and you just feel, so I would go over there and wash her hair for her, right? And blow dry her hair, do her nails, just so she felt somewhat normal, right? She felt like a person, right? And that was very bonding for her and I, to have that experience together as well. So what are some of the other things that you could suggest for people helping others through breast cancer?
Don't ask, what can I do? Just offer. Just say, I can do this, or this. What do you need? Or the kids have practice tomorrow at 6. I'm picking up your child. Or little things like that. Some things that my community did for me. First of all, my mom and my sister were amazing. They did not leave my side. They wouldn't let me do anything alone, which was wonderful. I have a pretty big community of girlfriends who are other moms in my community that I've gotten to know pretty well. And one of them organized several different, like, meal trains.
Yep.
So especially after surgery, we were getting dinners delivered. That was wonderful. One of the sweet things she did is, I said when I knew I was going to lose my hair, I don't want to wear a wig. I don't think I would be comfortable. So I said to my friend, I'm just going to do like those little hats and bandanas, and maybe I'll just do fun earrings and rock it. So she organized this sweet earring exchange, and every week one of these ladies would drop off a pair of earrings on my front porch with a sweet note or a card that really picked me up, and it was great. And to this day, I have the most amazing earring collection.
That is amazing. See, this is the power of community. I would say the other thing, when my friend, one of my best friends went through it, I've had a couple really good friends go through it, but they would organize someone just to come and spend time with her, just to sit and just spend time with her, because she couldn't leave her house. she was still recovering. She was just so for weeks. I mean, this is a long period of time. And so they would arrange for people just to come and sit with her. Like, of course I was one of the regulars just popping by, like, I don't care if you want me or not, I'm going to come and just sit and watch a show with you if you want. But it was very nice because it's lonely. You could get very lonely. And at some point, people have to move on with their everyday life, right? So meal trains are great, but also just to sit and chat, just someone to sit and chat with you, maybe.
So, and I think it's worth saying that this doesn't only apply to cancer or illness. Like,
yes,
these types of things apply in all other different types of situations, like loss or trauma.
yeah.
If we want to support somebody, we have to think about what would really help them, like not so much what's comfortable for me.
I think that was the best piece of advice. What is best for them versus what's comfortable for me. I love that. So everybody listening, if you could just keep that in mind when you have somebody going through trauma, any kind of trauma and grief and things like that, what is best for them. So I appreciate that you shared the story with us today. And this is in honor of breast cancer awareness and all the amazing women who have made it. And unfortunately, those who have not. And their bravery too. And we will always remember this battle, all of us together. So any final thoughts from you, Lauren?
I appreciate what you do at We, Jackie, and thank you so much for giving me the platform to share my story. I think it's important to be very open and approachable on this topic. I do that very intentionally because I want women to know that there are people that they can reach out to should they need suggestions or support. So thank you for your time today.
So Lauren, if somebody happens to be struggling in this area, because what I've realized, and this is one of the reasons I was so thrilled that you reached out to us, and I so appreciate your bravery because I know this is very vulnerable. But if somebody is going through this journey and they're kind of suffering in silence, which a lot of women do, would they be able to reach out to you and ask you some questions and get some guidance?
Absolutely. I welcome
Yes.
that. Yes, absolutely.
Oh, okay. So anybody listening, you can email in admin@weunited.tech. We will forward your information to Lauren, and you just have to say, I would love to talk to Lauren. You don't have to give us any information. So we would love to talk to Lauren, and we can forward you on. Or Lauren, do you have an email that people can contact you directly in case they so choose to?
You can find me on LinkedIn.
Awesome.
Yep, that'd probably be the best way. Send me a private message and then we'll connect.
Yes, that's awesome. So send Lauren Sloan, she works at Newark, or for now, right? And contact her if you have any questions or need anything. And we're always here as a community to support. And speaking of which, we ended the summit and we're collecting all this information on executive circles. And I think this breast cancer support circle would be amazing. So if anybody has any interest in that, or they feel like they would need that kind of a group, I think that there's probably enough people that have been impacted at this point that we probably could start a circle. So that's something. Email in admin@weunited.tech. Let us know if that's something you need support with. But anyway, Lauren, I mean, thank you so much for coming on, sharing your story, and I believe other people will be comforted by knowing that you opened up and have resources.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jackie.
All right. Thanks, Lauren. Have a good one.
You too.